Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good morning, OD Green. Long-term SoFi bull. They reported this morning. Hold on, I got to scroll through, try to get some things in order. Good morning, Sterling. There's SoFi for OD Green up 4.37. Thank you for putting in the earnings. Again, not all the earnings because Sterling's putting in the companies with over 1 billion in revenue are popular, well-known names. Well, thank you very much, Sterling. Again, we appreciate him being here all the time. UNH also was a beat. We are long UNH from the Unfiltered Investor. Continues to march higher. We also reviewed the weekly double bottom here, so nobody should be surprised at that. What else do we have? We have PayPal was a beat up 11.03, but also what they announced, they had something AI related that they announced also this morning. UPS laying off a ton of people. Beat up 11.66%. How many? Sterling, do you have that handy? Sorry to rely on you, but do you have that handy? How many people they announced are going to lay off for UPS? Good morning, Anissa. So, good morning, Mike. And hyperscaler Sterling. Sterling, you can retire from the car industry. You're now a hyperscaler. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, David. Good morning, Tony. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Royal Palms. Tony, shout out to Sterling. All right. Good morning to people in the background. Good morning to people over on Rumble. Did not see Patrick this morning on Rumble. Oh, Patrick, you're not on Rumble. All right. So, hope everyone is having a fantastic day so far. Market just keeps on moving higher. We also have ADP. What did they announce today? I got to look at my other my other thing. The ADP will begin releasing weekly estimates every Tuesday for their employment change, and that is up slightly. Good. Oh boy, come on! Don't switch bar. Good morning, Jacob. Alrighty now. Oh, Microsoft Open AI deal. Haven't they had a Microsoft Open AI deal forever? Uh PayPal announced something. So Redbook came out. I think it was at 5.2. I don't know why that didn't refer. Yeah, 5.2. Home prices year over year up 1.6, but down for August. Why does it take them so long to release the numbers? Like it's the end of October, they're releasing August numbers now. Never got that one. We have the Richmond Fed manufacturing. We're still in a government shutdown, so again, no government data. We get the Richmond Fed manufacturing and services index, the Dallas Fed services index at 10 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Not, I mean, it would take something pretty big to shock this market. We do have potential mini double tops, mini. So if they triggered, there could be a nice pullback just for another potential buying opportunity. Remember, Fed 2-day Fed meeting, but today doesn't really matter. Tomorrow, and it's going to be a cut. So the press conference, we're just going to have to say we're ignoring data. We're ignoring the inflation data. We're just focused on the employment data, which is not being released. So that's your summary for tomorrow. What else? We have consumer confidence isn't coming out today, I don't think. What else do we have? We have the Mag 7 still. Buy all the Mag 7. Especially, what did Microsoft announce a new thing with OpenAI? Because they're up. They're up. Google Meta. So something's changed in the last little bit. Groups. Just refresh this and something. Technology is now leading based off of Microsoft. Little flatter, little shift. So somebody let me know what just popped out. Truflation is really good now, especially with government shutdown. Well, there's two services that do real time inflation metrics. Trueflation is one of them. Jacob Amgen, potential double top. Why does that rally make you sick yesterday, Charles? What's going on? Fed watch. Again, the cut priced in for tomorrow. Fear and greed. Still, markets across the board, except for the Russell, all-time highs. And we're in fear mode. Mainly due to, all the breath is bouncing back a little. Schiller PE, we're closing in. We gotta hit that 44, baby. Gotta hit 44 to make this the most expensive Schiller PE market ever. So, what else? We already covered the earnings. DR Horton, I know that was a miss, I think, on revenue, and they are down. After the close today, we have Visa. That's the biggie. That's the biggie after the close. And then tomorrow morning, Verizon, Boeing, CVS, Caterpillar. Oh, was that? That's Microsoft's stake in OpenAI valued. It's going to be so interesting when this reverses on the. Not that AI is going away. Oh, did the double? It looks like the double is now off the table. Gosh darn it. All right, well, we had 69.26. This thing is going for a magnet price of 7K. Going for a magnet price of 7K unless somebody releases really bad earnings, which I'm not seeing right now. Still going to be watching for that over the next few days, maybe even this week. I mean, in the things that have gone vertical. Things that have gone vertical. I was watching this little mini potential double top, which is now off the table. Again, if we take out this next harmonic, what do we have? Well, we have to do this. We have to do this for the minor harmonics now. Let's see where this puts us. We have to go 70, 60, and then 7307, so 7300. 7300, but I'm focused on. First, I focus on 7K, then I'd be looking at 7060. 7K is a magnet price. On the real short term, we've taken out those harmonics. So I don't even have another pausing bar from the reverse harmonics. So we'll just have to go off of 969.50, then 7K. There, we did have a mini potential double top in the NASDAQ also, but looks like it is off the table at this point. By the way, back to the S&P. Sorry about that. Back to the S&P. On any pullback, I'm paying attention to 6,900 to about 6,905 for the major support. Minor support coming in 6,915. NASDAQ, minor support is coming in about 26,000. Major supports coming in about 2950 to 2960. There are no short setups. That move feels there. Why would there be an FOMC move now? Gamblers are afraid when they push all the chips in. Be greedy when everybody's fearful. Be fearful when everybody's greedy, and we're in full-blown greed mode. Yeah, Category 5 is going to absolutely obliterate Jamaica. So, thoughts and prayers for people in Jamaica. Dow, there you go. Dow to Dow, Dow, Dow. Through the next minor harmonic 47,950. This is going to 48. This might actually try to take out 50K before we're all over, but the next key harmonic is 48,125. Again, going vertical. Going vertical. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? Case Shiller, Shiller PE, not Case Shiller, Shiller PE going to 44. I'm just keeping an eye on this 4-hour rotation zone for the major support, minor support. I'm just watching the 1-hour rotation zone. I would not recommend shorting this unless we get momentum to the downside, which would take something out of the blue. Russell lagging. Russell will probably play catch up tomorrow with the rate cut. So, stalling out at the most recent harmonic area, we take out these most recent highs, 2582, major cluster just above 2600. Already tested some support based off yesterday's closing area in the 4-hour rotation zone. No, I mean, this is boring. These live streams are boring because there's not much to talk about. Again, sell volatility, buy it all. Going to end up in tears at some point. Lots of buying pressure in the DAX on dips now, but it still needs a follow through above 24,500 to really break out in the short term. If it starts taking out 24,250, we could see some acceleration to the downside. Other than that, there's buying pressure in there. The not triggered double. See, not triggered, confirmed, but not triggered mini potential double top. Not off the table yet. Could actually trigger today. How would that look for the yields? Yields, a little doubles not, it's confirmed against the rotation zone, but if this takes out the rotation zone, it hasn't even triggered yet, but we still have potential double bottom. Inflation not going away. It's going to take a massive collapse and recession to really eliminate inflation, but then you're going to have to deal with a massive recession. Other than that, so I'm keeping an eye to see if these trigger today. Crude, little pullback. As I said yesterday, was not looking to short this thing. Little pullback here. We could see some more downside. We've pulled back. Did this trade low enough? Yes, it did. I thought it did. Sorry with the minor brain fart there, but we do have a mini potential double bottom in here. That's what I'm keeping an eye on. Keeping an eye on to see if that triggers for another minor rebound move. Gold, but it's all right. I'm not saying any of the regulars here. Other people. Again, if you need to contact me, pattradingpartners@gmail.com. Because there's a potential bottom, unless you have a front run pattern, you do not buy it. And if you have a front run pattern, you still have to manage your stops. Just because I list a potential pattern does not mean it's a buy, or conversely, a double top does not mean it's a sell. They have to trigger. What did I say yesterday? If this invalidates the double, which it did, once it went through this minor harmonic projection, what was I watching for? For a pullback to the weekly rotation zone before watching for another potential buy pattern. Just because you have a potential pattern does not mean it will ever trigger. You need a reason to get in, not because it's a potential. You need some kind of trigger that you can measure reward to risk. For me, we never hit any, but even front run patterns. If there was one, I would have listed it. So, we're getting close to oversold, cycles back to the bottom. Will I be watching now for potential buy setup? Yes. We may have a %B buy. Again, tomorrow maybe. We'll be watching today's high, or if we form like a shorter term double bottom. Does that guarantee just because all right, also just because we hit the rotation zone does not make it a buy. I need to have a pattern on a shorter time frame. We finally reset back to the rotation zone high. Could this go deeper based off this vertical move? Yes. Remember, this went vertical. We talked about this for a couple weeks. So I'm now going to start watching, especially if we can get closer to this 50 EMA, that would be, and the 50% harmonic from the run up. That, and then set up a buy pattern, that'd be fantastic. But all right, just because let's say we hit the 50% harmonic, does not mean I magically buy. I need a setup or a pattern that I can rely on reward to risk. And I'm not speaking to the regulars here. No massive head and shoulders on gold daily. This is a minor upsloping one against the rotation zone. It is, you're looking at this pattern right here that is triggered. I would use that if you want to watch for pullback levels. I already have this key pullback. If you want to watch this, it's very aggressive still because it's against the key rotation zone. But here are the targets for it. Again, I am not shorting gold. The first target is roughly the 50 EMA and just below the 50% harmonic. Then we go down to the 62.5 harmonic. So if this were to play out, you could get back to 36.57. Would it be there in a straight line? Doubtful. Doubtful. So it would take you back to the closer bottom of the rotation zone. Now, if you want to be aggressive and manage a position very tightly, you're welcome to short gold. I'm not going to manage a position that tightly. The secondary reaction, now since we've returned to the weekly rotation zone, this next bounce play, and there will be another bounce play in gold, will be critical. This is the critical one. Are we going to set up a longer term top? Or are we going to go to retest the top area and potentially new highs? That's the question. We don't know yet. Silver. Potential double bottom off the table without triggering. Silver also has returned to the weekly rotation zone. So I will be looking, maybe percent B buy tomorrow. Still has to be managed, not a no-brainer trade. But going to be watching, then that secondary reaction will be important also. All right. All right. Zero hedge. E-mini is 50.5% away from upward slingshot trigger. Again, I would not be shorting this market, even with Coco's money. Where's Coco been? So, that's enough about that. Keeping an eye on this potential double top pattern now for copper. Might not ever trigger. But from a trailing perspective, that's what I'm looking. Dollar index coming back down to the second layer of key support. Remember, we've talked about this 98.20. I've been talking for that level forever in the Unfiltered Investor newsletter. Testing key support, rotation zone, and rotating back up. Boy, this is going to get real interesting if this potential double triggers on the weekly basis. Euro finishing. We finished the double bottom pattern. It turned into a really nice channeling double bottom that triggered all, whether you went with conservative or aggressive targets, triggering all of them. And now looking to break back down. So going to keep watching that for a potential continued rollover. I don't know what to say anymore. Here's your spiders. Don't know what to say. Just don't, besides don't short it. 686.14, 687.03. What are the next levels higher? Well, we got to come up to this pausing bar. And now your major level is 694.45 is your major level. And your next minor, we're just going to pull, is about 687.60. All right. So that's where you have it. Support would be yesterday's highs to gap fill close. The gap fill close would be to 685.24. Duck Q's. All right. So what do we have? We got to come up. This one's off the table. Well, hold on. Let me get this. This one's off the table. The next key pausing bar for the longer term is this one. Gives you 635.56. On any gap fill, it would be to 628.09. There you go. What else have I missed in here? Hold on. I have a trade idea for soy. There's a lot. I got to play. Hold on. I got to play catch up. What did I miss from earlier? Put it in. I think I saw when there was a stock that there was a potential double top. Can you put it back in, please? Good morning, Heinrich. How are you? One thing I talked about this. When was it? Christoph asked me about this. I was watching for a return to the weekly rotation zone around this 47 area with a return to the weekly rotation zone, which we hit. I have not covered this, but we did have a percent B buy. That's why I give the rules out. Again, if you're new here, here's your parameters. It's a Bollinger Band percent B setup. Length of 5, source high, low, close divided by 3. If you can't do that, just do the closing price. They're similar. Standard deviation 1. You're looking for it to pull back below 0. And then for the next day to close above the highs. So this triggered. This is exactly what I was talking about. We returned to the weekly rotation zone. We formed a buy pattern. A potential buy pattern that triggered. So now it's managing. Now this is a secondary reaction. Does this mean uranium's going to go to new highs? No. What am I watching? What are the key levels? I'm reviewing this because we could see the same thing in gold and silver coming up. My first major target area is the 50% to the 62.5% harmonics from these lows. Let me flip this around. All right. So trading just below the 50% harmonic. And then the key level that we have to close above is the 62.5. If we close above there, I shift the target area to the 75 to the 87. If we can't and we form a rollover pattern between the 50 and 62, that means we failed early on the secondary bounce, and I watch for the lows to potentially get taken out. If we close above 62.5, then I'm watching for the potential double top territory, and it's continued to trail or look for pullbacks with new buying opportunities. Hope that makes sense. So here's a really good example in uranium. Now that we have that out of the way. What did I miss earlier? I can't find it now. What was the potential double top I missed? Oh boy. Amgen. Amgen does have a confirmed. Let me just verify it. Remember, we got to measure it out. It does qualify, so it is a potential double top on Amgen that's confirmed but not triggered. This confirmed it on the daily, not triggered. And here was your little double bottom pattern from before. So I'm just trying to catch up. XLU. In XLU from 1st of September on daily rotation, how do you handle daily rotations versus weekly when it's overbought? The daily, when it's overbought, this can still be a rotation and this could still be a rotation buy. Same thing. I manage it with a lot of tighter stops when it's on the daily and we're overextended on the weekly. Same thing. What do I do? So this was a rotation buy. It's already ticked off the 50% harmonic, so this would at least be a stop raise. Next key level would be the 92. So this is the minor reaction, but since it's overextended, why do I manage stops tightly? Because if this turns around, especially if it fails between the 50 and 62.5 and rolls over, and then we take out those lows, do I want to be in this thing? No. Or aggressively, if we take out the rotation zone on a closing basis? No. Why? Because then I'm watching for the pullback into the weekly. So this is an aggressive bounce entry. I just manage it a lot tighter with stops. Same thing. I watch for that 50 to 62.5 on a bounce. There you go, Rick. Does that make sense why I manage it tightly? Because we're overextended from the weekly. And if we take out the bottom of that daily rotation zone, where will we most likely return to? The weekly. Then I'll watch for another buy setup and the major secondary bounce. You have a trade idea for soybeans. Depending on the trade deal, there looks to be a buy setup on the monthly and intraday. Where's my soybeans? On the monthly. The breakout from a horizontal channel. Key target for me for at least something would be 1154 on the minor. Overextended now. I would be watching. I don't have anything going on in soybeans, but I'd be watching for a potential pullback to this major support area. It is a little overextended. Things are chasing higher. And then as long as that holds, we'll be looking for a resumptive buy pattern. And the first key area based off the weekly, first off, you're looking about 1141 to 1150 as the first target area. Hey, Fragrance World. Can we check the pot? Did I miss another thing? Waiting for Tom Brady and Larry Donald. Is Sam gonna get pardoned too? Can I look at Pi Network? I did glance. You know what? Interesting enough, I looked at Pi Network just the other day. I was thinking of you, Fragrance World. So you got a little bounce here. Is this a long-term bottom? You're against some key resistance. If it starts closing above these levels, it could sustain something. Other than that, it's a return to another rotation zone. So I'd be watching for the close in this area, which it has not closed. Besides this last little bounce in May, has not closed above the 50. I'd be watching again for the close above roughly this 0.265 area for a continued bounce. Is this a long-term bottom? There's not a long-term bottoming formation yet. URA looks like a potential head and shoulders. It could be. it's going to be a very sloppy, lopsided shoulder. But again, this is a secondary bounce. I already went through exactly how I'm watching for it. Why would I then, if this did trigger the head and shoulders and it took out the weekly rotation zone? Yes. Would I be looking for longs at that point? No, I'd be more aggressive. I'd be looking for either short-term shorts or a bigger pullback. But until that happens, there you go. You're welcome, Andrea. They're essentially the same thing. You can go to the unfilteredinvestor.com and take a look there. I don't run anything to. I just help with stock trades and do all the levels and stuff for futures. Just go to the Unfiltered Investor. There might be something coming up for, Black Friday. I don't run any of that. I'm not. I stay out of. I hate marketing stuff. I hate doing that stuff. You know me. I do the levels and the potential trades. How do I know if I watch for a long-term pattern? I don't have a long-term buy pattern. Now, if we start closing above that key level and then we start holding it on a weekly basis, especially if we can get out of the way of the weekly rotation zone, I'll watch for a longer-term bottom. All right, speaking of crypto, there's your Bitcoin. It's got to really get through to this 115.3 area. We're still in massive consolidation. Massive consolidation on overall in Bitcoin. With that, let's just peek at the S&P and then I got to go. Not much to talk about. Not much to talk about. Yeah, the double is potentially off the table, but the key pullback level is 6,900. All right. I shall talk to everyone tomorrow for the Fed meeting day and major earnings tomorrow afternoon. Until then, I'll talk to everyone later. Bye for now.